I still remember that Monday morning at Genix Solutions, 18th floor of a glass tower on Manhattan Avenue. Everything was going as usual, until I received an unexpected email from the executive assistant. "Emma, please join us in the executive boardroom at 10 a.m. This is urgent." I looked at the clock. 9:48. I had never been invited to a meeting on the top floor, the floor reserved only for senior managers and executives. I exhaled slowly. A mix of nervousness, curiosity, and a tiny spark of hope. When the glass door slid open, I stepped into the room and found more than 10 people seated around a long walnut conference table. In the center sat Mark Riley, the elusive CEO of the company. He stood up, coffee cup in hand, and said, "Emma, congratulations. You are officially promoted to head of business development." The room burst into applause. Several eyes turned toward me, some surprised, others cold. I smiled, nodded in thanks, but inside me rose a strange unease. Why me? I had never applied for this position. No one had even hinted at it. Despite my 7 years of hard work, I had never considered myself select material in a cutthroat place like Genix. As the meeting ended and I stepped into the hallway, my phone buzzed. A message from Olivia, my closest colleague. "Emma, be careful. This doesn't feel right." I started to type back, "You worry too much," but I deleted it. Something really didn't feel right. The first 3 weeks in my new role were nothing short of brutal. Back-to-back meetings from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Hundreds of emails daily. My team was distant, and the higher-ups were gone. No orientation. No handover documents. No strategic briefings. I asked about the quarterly budget, no one responded. I requested the updated business plan, no one had it. I felt like I was thrown into the wild without a map. By the end of the 3rd week, I stumbled upon something shocking. Over $350,000 had leaked from our department's budget over the last 2 months, just before I was promoted. I hadn't signed a single related document. But now, my name was on every single one of them. I couldn't sleep that night. One question kept circling in my head. Why was my name on approval forms I never signed? The next morning, I arrived at the office early. I reopened the company's internal financial system and dug into every transaction. One detail made my skin crawl. Every transaction was approved using my digital signature. But I hadn't even logged into the approval system since my promotion. I called IT. Alex, the head of the tech team, looked puzzled but ran a login history check. 20 login sessions to the financial system within the past 60 days. All from a single IP address, located on the 17th floor, where the office of Jason Blake, my predecessor, used to be. Jason had left the company 3 weeks earlier after a closed-door meeting with the executive board. No one knew the reason. Rumors said he resigned. Others whispered he'd been transferred to the parent company. But now I understood, Jason disappeared just when the tracks started to vanish. I brought this information straight to Mark Riley. For the first time, I walked into his office uninvited. He looked up slowly, eyes narrowing as I laid printed financial reports and system logs on his desk. "Emma, I think you're digging too deep into matters that don't concern your current role," he said firmly. I didn't back down. "With all due respect, sir, my name is being used to authorize a major budget leak. If I don't investigate this thoroughly, I'll be the one facing legal consequences." The air thickened. Mark stared at me for a long moment before saying slowly, "Choose your battles wisely, Emma. Some things are better left buried." I understood. I had just declared war. In the days that followed, I was subtly, but unmistakably, isolated. Meetings were cancelled without explanation. Budget for my projects got slashed. Emails went unanswered. A slow, silent shutdown of my role. Even Olivia, my closest ally, warned me one evening. "I heard they're launching an internal audit, and they need someone to blame." "Fast?" I asked. "You mean, they're going to pin it on me?" She didn't answer. But silence said everything. I refused to become a scapegoat. I started gathering evidence, email logs, internal memos, timestamps. I even consulted my personal lawyer to review the legality of what I was uncovering. Then I reached out to Jason Blake. It took nearly a week to find him through an old LinkedIn profile. After several messages, he finally replied with one sentence. Emma, if you're investigating that, be careful. Some people lost their jobs. Others lost more than that. I typed back. Jason, I won't let them destroy my name. Help me. I need to know what really happened. A few minutes later, he sent a file. An audio recording. The real battle had just begun. I closed my office door, drew the blinds, and plugged in my headphones. The audio file from Jason started with faint static, then a familiar voice. It was Mark Riley. Jason, the board is nervous. We need this covered up by next quarter. Transfer the approvals to a new head, clean up the logs, and we'll handle the rest. Jason's voice was lower, hesitant. You mean pin it on someone else? Mark responded coldly. No one's getting hurt, Jason. She's smart. If she plays along, she'll come out richer. If not, well, she'll burn quietly. I felt my stomach turn. They had planned it all. They had chosen me not for my ability, but for my expendability. A clean face. A loyal record. The perfect fall girl. That night, I forwarded the recording to my lawyer and backed it up on 3 different drives. I didn't trust the company systems anymore. I had to act, but every step had to be calculated. I began a quiet campaign. One-on-one meetings with people I trusted inside Genix. Olivia helped me arrange meetings with 2 former finance staff who had mysteriously resigned last month. Both confirmed it. They saw strange transactions approved weeks before I took over, but their warnings were ignored. Meanwhile, my lawyer drafted a letter of legal notice, stating clearly that I possessed evidence of financial misconduct and coercion at the executive level. If they moved against me publicly, I would go to the media, the SEC, and federal court. On Friday morning, I walked into Mark Riley's office. Calm. Steady. Mark, I think you've underestimated the person you chose. I placed a printed transcript of the audio on his desk. He didn't touch it. What do you want, Emma? He asked, flatly. I want my name cleared, effective immediately. I want written proof of my non-involvement. And I want a severance package equal to 1 year's salary, clean, legal, and sealed. He looked at me, no expression. Then slowly nodded. Done. But I wasn't done. I could have walked away. After that Friday meeting, everything I asked for was delivered within 48 hours. HR sent me a clean release letter stating I was cleared of all financial responsibility. A generous severance hit my account. All mentions of the leaked funds vanished from internal emails. Just like that, it was like I'd never existed in that mess. I could have packed my things, taken a long vacation, started fresh somewhere else. But that's not who I am. I kept remembering Jason's voice on that tape. Kept thinking about the finance team members who were pressured out, the whispers in the hallway, the fear in Olivia's eyes. How many people had been silenced before me? How many would follow, if I stayed quiet? I knew what I had to do. Monday morning, I walked into the New York office of the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. I submitted a legal affidavit, financial logs, the audio recording, transcripts from 2 former finance staff members, a timeline of internal manipulation spanning 3 months. The officer reviewing my documents, Agent L. Carter, didn't say much. But when he looked up at me, his face was serious. This is going to shake things up. By Thursday, Genix Solutions was issued a preliminary investigation notice. The media caught wind within days. Insider fraud allegations hit tech giant Genix. CEO under investigation after whistleblower evidence emerges. And just like that, I wasn't just a former employee. I was a whistleblower. They came at me hard. Mark Riley's legal team tried to discredit me. Old HR reports resurfaced mysteriously, trying to frame me as unstable. Anonymous calls and emails warned me to drop it or watch my back. I was scared. Of course I was. But I also wasn't alone. Jason agreed to testify. Olivia gave a sworn statement. Even Alex from IT handed over server logs that matched my timeline. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. They had underestimated all of us. 2 months later, the Department of Justice joined the SEC in a full-scale investigation. Mark Riley resigned for personal reasons. 3 board members were suspended pending inquiry. And Genix's stock, once considered bulletproof, dropped 27% in a single week. One evening, I got a message from an unknown number. Just 3 words. You did it. I didn't know who it was from. Jason? Olivia? Someone I'd never met? It didn't matter. I closed my laptop. Sat in silence. And for the first time in months, I smiled, not because I won, but because the truth finally spoke louder than fear. 3 months passed. The storm faded. Genix Solutions was still standing, but no longer untouchable. The headlines moved on. Mark Riley vanished from the business world. A new CEO was appointed, someone from outside, brought in to rebuild trust. And me? I wasn't sure who I was anymore. I had job offers. Other companies reached out, some quietly, some publicly. Some admired my integrity. Others just wanted the press coverage that came with hiring the woman who brought Genix down. I spent days staring at those emails, scrolling through LinkedIn messages, reading contracts. But something inside me had shifted. It wasn't just about a career anymore. One morning, I met with Jason at a coffee shop in Brooklyn. He looked lighter. Less haunted. Ever think about doing something different? I asked. He smiled. Like what? Become whistleblowers for hire? I laughed. But the thought lingered. 2 weeks later, I walked into a small office space I had just leased. On the door, I taped a piece of paper, temporary, but hopeful. It read, "The Lighthouse Initiative. We protect the voices they try to silence." It wasn't much, yet. Just a laptop, a filing cabinet, and a mission. To help employees in toxic corporations navigate fear, find truth, and speak without being destroyed. One night, Olivia came over with takeout. We sat on the floor, eating noodles and talking about everything and nothing. She looked around at the empty shelves and boxes. You really think you can change the system? I didn't answer right away. Then I said quietly, no. But I can make it harder for the system to change us. She nodded. Then I'm in. I don't know where this path leads. But I know this. They thought they could bury me in silence. Instead, they planted something far stronger. A fire that doesn't die. A voice that won't disappear.